Hey guys, it's Blockchain Brad, and today I'm very fortunate to talk to someone of great importance. It is none other than the CEO of TomoChain, and his name is Long Vuong. Long, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me here.
I understand how busy you are. I know you have a meeting after this. But Long, let's just go over a few of your credentials. Clearly, you have a lot of experience. Let's go back to 2014. You were very important. You had a very important role in NEM, which is an important Japanese blockchain. You also, in terms of academics and prowess, you have a PhD in economics. You were the co-founder of the successful NEM blockchain, and more importantly, you are the CEO of TomoChain, and you've been involved in the Tomo app development as well. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for obviously, dedicating so much of your time to the blockchain for so long. But let's get to the crux of what we need to talk about, Long, and that is the TomoChain itself. Can you tell us in a nutshell, what is TomoChain about?
Tomo chain is an independent chain and an open protocol to build decentralized application, to issue token, and to integrate token into your businesses.
Okay, so you want to be
And
an open protocol, open chain, open source.
yeah, it will be open source.
Okay, so in that respect, obviously it bears similarities to other platforms such as Ethereum, and we're going to be talking about those interconnections. But let's just pull back a bit to your website and to your white paper. It explains in those sources of information that you are building an efficient blockchain infrastructure for decentralized applications and dApps. So is your plan to become your own dApp force, much like we see with the current two existent models of Neo and Ethereum?
Do you mean like
Well, currently there are only,
become a hub,
well,
to become a hub of decentralized application?
yes, of course. Would you like to
Yes.
be of that design where you can facilitate dApps on your own blockchain?
Yes. We pretty much want to host important decentralized application. So I think so when our platform is open to for other third party to build the app, there will be many application on it. But I think so we really want to find good and important decentralized application that can make a difference to the mainstream user.
I see. So you're going to be quite selective with the dApps that do append onto your blockchain. Let's talk about some of the key features. You talk about also token issuance and integration. So let's talk about Ethereum. Clearly, in
Mhm.
your plan, in your first phase, you are very much part of the Ethereum ecosystem. So can you tell us how?
Uh, Even though we are an independent chain and we have our own token, but we support all of the Ethereum smart contract and protocol. So if you already write a smart contract on Ethereum or having a DApp on Ethereum, but having some issue, you can try to test it on Tomo chain as well.
I see.
And we also support token transfer, token swap between Ethereum and Turbo Chain using the smart contract.
I see. So currently the main focus is on improving the scalability issues of Ethereum. Is that correct?
That's what we want to do. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your consensus model. It's very unique. Actually, there is another one that's utilizing that called oracles in a different way. But
Mhm.
the consensus model itself is proof of authority. Can you tell us about why you've chosen this consensus model?
Proof of authority have another advantage in that the consensus model is quite simple, right? You need to have like a partner network that runs the node.
Hmm.
And because we are a partner network, we can support uh, nodes with higher processing power, have higher bandwidth.
I
That
see.
means the network can scale much better than traditional model from Ethereum or Bitcoin.
I see. And what is important also is the centralized aspect currently. And obviously there's an advocacy for trying to move into a decentralized model later. And obviously Ethereum's trying to do that presently. But your power is in your high throughput, in your your capacity to be a reasonably high-speed blockchain in itself with 1,000 transactions per second capability now. So you're already, in comparison to many blockchains, highly scalable. But more importantly is that you have the strength of your current centralized model presently with your POA design. And you're planning on moving out into a more decentralized model as you progress into 2019? Is that correct?
That's exactly, Brad. So basically, we have a plan to launch the mainnet with POA in 2018.
Right.
But then transition to the masternode proof of stake model, where it is more decentralized and more autonomous, but still keep the same performance and scalability property.
I see. So you're going to move from the POA to the POS over a period of a year. That's really interesting. Let's talk about a little bit about the authenticators and how you're going to authorize decision making on the blockchain. What's the process as you transition across with consensus?
So what we plan is to build a decentralized governance application on top of the chain, right? So the idea here is that the coin holder can exercise their right to vote for the direction that the chain will be going into the future.
I see. So in many respects, you truly are moving in a decentralized model to allow people around the world to have a voice, particularly those who have masternode access. Is that correct?
Yes. For the masternode proof of stake model, user can actually vote with their coin to vote for certain masternode, right? And if that masternode is chosen to run to be a validator for the network, they can get a part of the revenue for that masternode. So it can be like a fully autonomous and decentralized network.
I see. And if someone did want to actualize the blockchain via becoming part of the masternode program, could they do that? Is that a difficult thing to be involved in the masternode process?
We are a kind of, currently we are a software company, right? So basically we will produce the standard software. That's anyone, right? Any coin holder and anyone who is technical enough to run a node can run the software and become a masternode. But to ensure the scalability property, user and or network or partner who want to be a masternode have to pass the network requirement in bandwidth and and processing power.
I see. So obviously there's some sort of governance model to try and make sure that there's the right people behind the management of masternodes.
Yes, it will be kind of like a built-in protocol, right? So basically we can decide collectively kind of, based on the research, right? Technical research, it is the best way to scale. Then we can pass that requirement into the software. And the software will kind of, give a path for the software can decide if this masternode qualified to be run and to be a validator of the network.
I see. If we can talk about your scalability now, that makes a lot of sense, what you've explained. But apparently you're currently focused on being a main chain by design and obviously supporting Ethereum. But are you planning on becoming something more than that later with parallel blockchains? Are you planning on establishing a much more robust system?
That's a long-term plan. And I think we want to build a community of masternode, right? Who have good processing power, good bandwidth, that can run a lot of chain. So the masternode can support the network to spin off a secondary chain.
I see.
Just based on the same software. But I think that will be kind of a long-term plan. If the main chain is congested, right, we will be ready to spin off a secondary chain.
I see, as a backup plan. Let's talk about your scalability now in terms of numbers. You've mentioned that in many interviews about the 1,000 TPS currently. But I'll broach this in respect to another blockchain. I won't name who or which, but there was references for 2020 for literally 100,000 TPS, on-chain non-sharding processes. I'm sure you know of that. So do you foresee the capabilities of scalability in your own blockchain developing to that extent by such times? Do you think that it's possible to do on-chain scalability at that level?
On the first server testing, we already reached 1,000 TPS right now. Mm-hmm. We push it a little bit further with a different scenario, right? So, but in theory, there is a good chance that we can push it much further, right? And to scale it much further. It should not be a big problem, but it needs more testings. So, yes, but from my point of view, right, we only try to solve the problem right now at hand, right?
Of course.
So like we are seeing the problem with Ethereum, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think Ethereum have problem because they have so many decentralized applications and so many tokens on their blockchain.
Of course. They have a huge issue with bottlenecks as well, with huge demands on their blockchain. So let's talk about that long as well in terms of smart contracts. Obviously, you are going to be interoperable. You're going to allow for atomic swaps in your design with Ethereum and yourselves as a separate entity. Can you tell us a bit more about the specifics and the connection you have with smart contracts and your plan to be compatible with Ethereum?
So currently, the cross-chain swap, how the cross-chain swap works is that we deploying the same smart contract on both chain, right? Ethereum and Tomo chain, right? The same one, because we are using the same programming language. And to move a token from Ethereum to Tomo chain, user just need to send that token into the smart contract address, and the token will appear in the Tomo chain, and vice versa.
I see.
Right? So it's working on the smart contract layer. Yeah.
Right, so the smart contract layer, what is the language that you're working in? You mentioned that it's the same language.
It's a Solidity. Yeah.
Okay, so just for the viewers out there who may not know, that's an Ethereum-specific language. It's not used anywhere else.
Actually, Solidity is similar to JavaScript, right? So JavaScript is very popular for web development.
Right, but it is different. It is different, though. It is a specific language. So is your plan to evolve and utilize other languages later and connect with other blockchains?
I think one of our focus is to make sure that the security is one of the highest standard, right? And obviously, blockchain and token involve money, right? And a lot of money and value. So we don't want to kind of mess up with the security part of the smart contract, which is, Ethereum have some in the past, right? With, even good developer writing smart contract, which still may have problem. Right. So in considering as a programming language and as a blockchain, we have to take into consideration that, how long do we need to master that programming language, and to make sure that we don't make any mistake in the way in the way of adopting that smart contract programming language and blockchain. So I think in the long term we going to study, right? At least to study as a programming language and trying to bring as a blockchain into our ecosystem.
Yes.
And support cross-chain smart contract from as a blockchain as well.
Yes.
But we here I want to stress that we take security very seriously, right? We want to make sure everything is working as planned instead of trying to rushing to add more functionality into the platform.
I think that's important as well, given that we are so early in the architectural design of blockchain. We're in the infrastructural period. If we could talk about now your claims to instant confirmations, well, rather at the 2-second speed, and also your zero transaction fee. Can you talk about those and how you're possibly going to offer the feeless transaction?
Now, I think so. We are having 2 second confirmation right now in the blockchain in the testnet, and we will keep it for the mainnet. For the fee, I think so. There will be very minimal fee,
Okay.
right? Minimal gas, and actually the fee will adjust, right? Adjust to the account activity to prevent spamming,
I see.
right? So if you try to spam the network by sending a lot of transaction or doing a lot of smart contract with no value, then the fee will increase. It's the fee will adjust to your account level of activity, right?
I see.
But for the regular activity and transaction, the fee will be very low.
Right. If we could talk about also your partnerships, I noticed in your white paper that you have a very interesting one, and no doubt I need to broach it, is that you have a connection with Neo. Now, I broach this only because we're talking about similarities with, similar confirmation times, similar feeless structures with transactions. But again, at a fundamental level, you are distinct from Ethereum. No doubt in the future, long term, you could potentially be appending to other blockchains. So is your vision, given that Neo is one of the partners, to utilize other hub chains like Neo?
In short, yes.
In theory.
In short, I mean, the short answer is yes. I will explain it a little bit, right? So basically, my vision and our team vision is for we want to see a work, right, where blockchain is a kind of the running operating system for the economy, right? So a lot of digital asset will be running on chain. A lot of identity and smart contract will be running on chain. And I think in that future there will be several blockchain, right?
Right.
And especially blockchain that support smart contract. So we will try to be a kind of good participant in this that ecosystem, right?
Yes.
By trying to connect and partner with other blockchain, and especially good blockchain like Neo. That's what we want to do.
Perhaps we could say excellent rather than good, because Neo is an excellent blockchain, and I'm glad that you have chosen Neo as one of them. If we could talk about some of your competitors as well right now, Long. Clearly the main one is Oracle. The reason being is that they have also employed a similar consensus model as well. So can you tell us what sets you apart from Oracle, and why are you better?
On the technical level, I think Oracle is using the Rust code base, right?
That's correct.
It is, they are developing based on the code base written in Rust.
Yes.
And we are developing based on the code base written in Golang.
So you're using the Golang developing language.
Language. It's a different in a programming language. Yes. So of course, then this will the difference in programming language will lead to many different in feature as well.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
And as far as I can see, Oracle will be doing POA, right? And we will be moving to POS later on. So
I think
that's also another difference.
What's interesting also is you're going to be ERC20 compatible as well, which is another distinction. Is that right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. Oracle is using a more a more newer standard.
That's correct.
But we are still using ERC20,
which is a more generic, I guess, standard that everyone knows currently. Just in terms of, you've mentioned before about the proof of stake. When is that likely to transition in 2019? Early or late?
Our plan is to launch the upgrade version in early 2019.
Okay. Yeah. If we could talk about your wallet, your Tomo wallet as well. How's the development of that going? And the demo version, the mobile version?
We already have the web wallet, right? The demo version of the web wallet.
Okay.
Which you can keep 2 private key, right? Private key from Ethereum blockchain and the private key from Tomo Chain blockchain. So our wallet will be hosting later on. The wallet will be hosting Ethereum, Ether, and Tomo Coin, and also token in both chain.
I see. So it's very compatible.
Yeah, yeah. We also launched the Android version of the mobile wallet as well.
I see. Well, let's go across a bit to your partners. We've talked about Neo, obviously, but you're having a key advisor on your white paper as well, Roger Lim. He's extremely prominent in the investment space. He's been involved in many different coins. Just how important is someone like Roger to your credibility?
I think Zora is very well known in the Neo ecosystem and
Very.
also Chinese investment. And actually, I love him.
Mm.
We working quite closely together, and he help a lot with strategy, right? And yeah, I think it's very important for us to have Rosa on board. And yeah,
I would tend to agree only because he tends to invest in very successful blockchains. If we could talk about some of your team now as well, Long, you have a very impressive team. Obviously not just yourself with your PhD in economics, but some of your CTO, for example, and your other core members. Can you tell us a bit about just the quality of the experience that your team brings? Not so much individuals, but just generally.
Mhm. So I think so. We are not just new to the blockchain. We are just not a team of just graduate from the university. Both all of us have a very long experience in programming, in the engineering, and technical management as well.
Hmm.
So it will be very good for us. It's for us to scale the team, right? Because the coding is a very important, right? Programming is a very important skill, but you also need the skill to manage engineering team, and that's
Right.
what we are having right now with the
Well,
core team.
Well, let's talk about two other very experienced members of your team. Just to be clear, we're talking about Min Chu and also Son Nguyen. If I pronounce them wrong, my apologies. But the reason why I broached them is two reasons. Min has very significant experience in the VC cloud space. How important is that experience?
Um, I think the uh, blockchain engineering is still in very early day, and Bitcoin was born in 2009, so
Right.
we only have like a 9 year of experience in engineering and computer science, right? So far, but Ming Chu he's have been involved with cloud computing
Hmm.
for a long time. He's a kind of chief architect of PC Cloud.
Right.
So
So the
PC
chief
Cloud,
architect.
yeah, PC Cloud is like Google Cloud.
Okay, so clearly
Right.
that's a huge boon.
Yeah.
It's a huge asset to have on board. If we could talk about Son as well, my apologies if I pronounce his name wrong, but what I found interesting about him is that he's very active in GitHub. He's got over 84 repositories, actually more now. He is in his repository. He works a lot with Ethereum. So, how important is someone like that to your team?
Sun is hugely important to our team for the fact that for the fact that he's have written on the smart contract
Mm,
for us so far, right?
yes.
And he's behind the testnet we are running right now. He's behind the wallet we are running right now.
Hmm.
He also very experienced in DevOps, that's the development operation. All right, it is a very important skill uh, to be able to scale the team.
I
Yeah.
see. Now, if we could move across now to some other companies, we're going to talk about Kyber and WeTrust. Can you tell us about some of the connections you have there in terms of advisors, in terms of how important they are?
I think one of the position we have is we are quite close to the Ethereum ecosystem, and we work with some of the most important Ethereum technologies. And uh, we are working with Kyber, we are working with Richard, and especially Huang, who is leading the engineering team in Richard,
Yes,
is also our technical advisor,
I see.
right? So um,
So
that's
hugely
I think
important.
that's a very strong technical foundation for us to build upon.
Yes, I would totally agree. And can we talk about also the indirect correlations or connections with Vitalik? Because obviously he's very busy and you are the CEO of your own blockchain, but indirectly through Kyber and through WeTrust, surely there's connections with Vitalik there.
I think Vitalik advised Kyber, and also Vitalik advised WeChat. But I think it's more important that this industry is so open,
Mm.
right? All the code base is open source, and Vitalik is very active in Twitter as well. So
Yes.
we our teams, we are humble. We want to learn the best technology and apply it to our own situation, our own blockchain. We will work with Ethereum ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
uh, to use all the help we can to develop our Tomo chain.
I see. If we could talk about your ICO now, obviously it's an up and coming ICO. So we're giving all the people in the world as much time as we possibly can. So March the 1st, is that correct as a key date?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, the crowd sale will happen on March 1st.
Right. Long, do you expect, with your experience, given all the different, events of late with whitelist, do you expect that it will go quite quickly? The reason why I ask, again, good segue into the next question, is that you are really not asking for a lot of money. It's very small.
Yes.
So this whitelist, this crowd sale is going to be very quick.
So we will do whitelisting for only 1 day.
One day. Wow. That's very
Yeah,
short.
and yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the amount of money you're trying to raise. How much is it?
So our total hard cap is 8.5 million
Okay,
USD.
so
Yeah.
it's almost unbelievable. That's such a small number. I'm in shock almost, because really the amount of people that were obviously interested in Tomo Chain is very high, and the access is going to be very low. So there's going to be a few people. So what about future plans with exchanges? Have you got some ideas in mind of where you're going to go?
All right. So we actually not allowed to talk about exchange, right? It's due to regulatory concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And I was advised by our legal counsel is
Mm-hmm.
uh,
So you can't tell
to make
us
sure
about
that
exchanges.
Tomocoin is an utility token. We can't really kind of talk a lot about exchange or plan to list on exchange, right?
Okay.
All I can say is that we try to do the best for our community, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want we want them to be happy and supportive of our team.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
best way to make them happy is to make sure they can access the coins. So that's going to be important.
Yes. Yes.
And I hope that's a part of the plan. Let's talk about your roadmap. It's a very impressive one. You are moving fast in 2018. Some big things happening Q1, Q2, Q3. Can you tell us about some key developments that you're planning to do? So the beta's done. It's ready. But let's go from
Yes,
Q1.
we have the testnet running right now. We plan to have the mainnet launch in the third quarter of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
right? And at the same time, because we already have the testnet, we will be trying to onboard decentralized application or businesses that want to do token,
Mm-hmm.
you know, right in 2018. And my plan is, well, to have at least 5 good decentralized application or token on top of Tomo Chain when we launch the mainnet.
Okay, that's very significant given that that's in Q4. Is that correct? Is it in Q4?
Yeah, in September, sometime September
Okay, so Q3, Q4.
2018.
Now, if you're going to be considering 5 at that time, translating that means that you already have people knocking on your door. You certainly would. Have you got any ideas of some of those dApps that are going to be coming onto your blockchain already?
I think our solution and pitch kind of resonate to many developers and businesses. We already got some inbound requests to test the Tomo chain,
Okay, so
right?
you
So
have a plan.
we're hoping to have more inbound requests in the coming months, right? And we will be onboarding and helping them to develop application on top of Tomo chain.
Okay, so this is going to again move into a segue of vision, which is we're up to. If you're exciting because you're a dApp facility, you're a platform, can you envisage, a significant number of projects appending to your blockchain? Not just 5, obviously, in September, but come a few years later, could you potentially be a Neo? Could you be an Ethereum? Could you be big?
We actually that's our plan, right? We want to have thousands of applications on top of the platform, and I think there will be a lot of application on top of platform actually. But our goal right now is to find out. We actively looking for and support good application, kind of the applications that can make a difference in the future.
That's very interesting, Long, because I think there are people out there like myself who support blockchains that support good quality dApps and good applications. And we've seen a few of them already come out and play. We've seen Neo, we've seen Icon come out very successfully, I might add, and now we see you. So it's going to be really exciting to see you grow and prosper in 2018, 2019. But if there's just something you could finally add to your audience, to your listeners around the world, what would you like to say on behalf of TomoChain right now as you progress into your ICO?
What I want to say is that the ICO is the first step, right, of building a blockchain, and then building an ecosystem based on that blockchain. And we love that the support we have so far, and I hope that you will stay with us, kind of progress with us, and kind of support us in the future. Because we have so much to do in the future, and we're going to do a lot of things in the future as well.
Absolutely. On behalf of all the listeners, it's been fascinating to listen to a very exciting up-and-coming blockchain. You're clearly linked to Ethereum now. You have a good friendship, with Ethereum. You well and truly designed as a protocol, open source, situated fantastically in 2018 to become something of worth and functional within Q4. So once again, it was a privilege talking to you, Long Vuong, the CEO of TomoChain, and hopefully, if it's okay, we could talk about this later down the track in 2018.
It's my pleasure to be here, Brad. Yeah, it's really a good time talking to you and have your audience listening to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.